It's such an elegant piece." "Oh, I agree. It is very elegant," Lavinia said, touching the pearl and diamond-encrusted band across her copper-blonde waves. "But this is the Hawkesbury coronet." "Are you sure?" Mamma said, brows lowered, peering with an expression of suspicion. "It appears very similar, but yes, I am sure. Nicholas assures me this is the coronet each new countess has worn." "Last worn by your mother-in-law," Charlotte murmured. Something flicked in Lavinia's eyes, but her tranquil expression did not change. "Yes." Charlotte inwardly applauded her cousin's fortitude. Her marriage had come with a very high price, that of a meddling, interfering older woman whose love for her son had been soured by his insistence on marrying a woman she despised. It must be so hard, Charlotte thought, to be at the receiving end of constant sniping and bitterness. But Lavinia bore it well. She possessed a measure of grace that seemed to permit her to smile and turn the other cheek, even as she must surely writhe inside. Charlotte smoothed down her elbow-length gloves, surreptitiously watching her cousin as she continued waiting patiently. Why the Dowager Countess felt entitled to be so rude was a mystery, especially when her eldest son had proved responsible for the death of Lavinia's mother, the Aunt Grace whom Charlotte had never known. But fault seemed of little consequence. Probably it was the Duchess of Salisbury, Charlotte's grandmother, and her frequent avowals of the Stamford family's decidedly inferior connections, and cutting them in public, that had fed such bitterness. Of course, Lavinia had never shared any of this, but it was there, evidenced by the Dowager Countess's not-so-discreet comments, and the flushed cheeks and angry-looking flash in her eyes, whenever Lavinia entered the room. The fact Lavinia had to rely upon her aunt for sponsoring her presentation to the Queen, and not her mother-in-law, as other new brides might expect, said enough. No, while Charlotte might envy her cousin's good fortune in marrying such a handsome man, she did not envy her the cost. A family who could not esteem the son's chosen bride would be anathema to her, and yet another thing of which to be aware as her father presented young men as potential suitors. "Miss Emma Emerson!" The large lady in pink urged her sweet-faced charge forward, leaving Charlotte at the head of the line. Now she could see the royals, the Prince Regent and his sisters standing either side of the elderly Queen. The butterflies grew tumultuous. She turned to Lavinia. "Are you sure you do not want to go first, and precede your mother's moment of triumph in her beautiful daughter?" Her cousin smiled. "I am happy to wait." "She does look beautiful, doesn't she?" Mamma's rare compliment pricked warmth in Charlotte's eyes, the fond expression she had not seen terribly often of late. Perhaps it was the pressure of organising so many things for her court presentation and upcoming ball. She eyed Lavinia's gown, so similar to hers, save it was a pretty peach colour, unlike Charlotte's white. But the hoops, the large bell sleeves, the requisite ostrich feathers were the same as those worn by the other ladies present. During their shopping expeditions to acquire such necessities, she'd often heard Lavinia's disapproval about the folly of hundreds of pounds spent for a gown worn only once. But then, Lavinia had grown up in rural Gloucestershire and had, until recently, little idea as to how things were done in society. "I believe you the prettiest lady here today," her cousin continued. "You exaggerate," Charlotte said, never too sure in her appearance. "Not at all. You are quite in your best looks." At Lavinia's comment, Mamma assumed a look of complacency, nodding to the dark-haired Lord Chamberlain as if expecting him to agree. From the image greeting her in the mirrored door, Charlotte thought she looked well, despite the ridiculous hooped petticoats doing nothing for anyone's figure. Her dark blonde hair had been expertly styled by Ellen, Mamma's lady maid, whose skill in dressing hair far surpassed that of Sarah, Charlotte's own maid. The diamond drops in her ears, an early birthday present from father, were of a beautiful cut and brilliancy. The pearl necklet, everything expensive yet modest. The dress itself, though of a style fashionable half a century ago, did suit her curves and tiny waist a little more than some others. Elegant silver embroidery embellished a petticoat of crepe, trimmed with wreaths of white roses.